Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Fair. We are playing Maverick. This is the sort of quintessential green-white fair creature deck. You haven't really seen it that much in Legacy lately. However, in the very recent times it's actually put up 2 top 8s, so I thought it'd be worth giving it a go. Obviously Legacy is in quite an unfair mode at the moment with like 50% of the format being combo decks. And the way that this deck tries to navigate that is by playing things like Gaddock Teeg main deck alongside Collector Ouphe. And we just got these sort of big haymakers that can hopefully answer what our opponent's doing. We've even got Thalia as well. The centre of this deck is Green Sun Zenith, which allows us to get whatever we need, whether it's mana dorks over here, whether it's the haymakers I mentioned before, a Scryb Ranger to sort of wall off a Murktide Regent for a while. We've got some Graveyard Hate and Endurance. We've got ourselves Knight of Autumn. This is quite a flexible thing. We can destroy Artifacts and Enchantments. We can gain life. We can just make this creature a little bit bigger. We have Knight of the Reliquary, which gives us a little bit of a toolbox in our lands as well. We've got Renegade Rallier, which can get some cards back. We've got Questing Beasts, which is just like our big top end that can just slide through, do a load of damage. A lot of words on this card. All you need to know is it's great. We've got some Mawlocs as a bit of removal we can shoot it for with our Green Sun Zenith as well. Speaking of removal, we got 4 Plows in here. And we've got Mother of Runes to blank our opponent's removal. Once Upon a Time is to sort of help our early game, make sure that we end up with the right stuff going on. And in terms of our mana base, we are a 4x Wasteland deck. We have a 1-off Talon Gate, so we're sort of cribbing a little bit from Cradle Control and Green-White Depths by having the Knight of the Reliquary package here. We've got ourselves a Karakas we can reach for, a 1-off Cradle, a Dryad Arbor to go with our Green Sun Zenith, Horizon Canopy to draw an extra card. There is no Ravenap Excavator, so we can't just keep looping these Wastelands over and over again, which is something I quite enjoy. But I guess given the nature of the format right now being quite fast, that's not necessarily something we want, but I'm surprised to not see it anywhere in the 75. Sideboard-wise, we've got some more Graveyard Hate because Ouphe Spells and Blue-Black Reanimator are by far the best decks in the format. We've got an Aven Mind Sensor to help versus things like Doomsday, a little bit more removal and Dismember, a bunch of Pyroblast. Because we are dipping into red for the Mawloc, we can also dip into red for these Pyroblasts, which kind of makes the splash feel a little bit better. The splash is pretty much just coming off of this Taiga and Birds of Paradise. Obviously, we can filter through the Talon Gates, although that's not ideal. We've got a couple of Force of Figures to blow up some scary permanents here and there. A Choke, which is just a nice big hammer against the blue decks. And then 2 Minsc and Boo if we need to go up on threats. This is just a game-ending threat that is quite hard for people to deal with. And yeah, that's the deck. If you like this sort of deck, I highly recommend Doogs on Twitch. I will post a link to his YouTube in the comments. I know he loves a bit of Maverick action. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe. And let's just be the fair person in the room today, shall we? If you're going to MagicCon Las Vegas this year, from the 20th of June to the 22nd of June, you can catch my sponsor 3-for-1 Trading there. They'll be buying up collections as well as selling some well-priced singles to help you get all that sweet legacy goodness that you need for your deck. So we've got Mother of Runes into whichever sort of hate bear sort of piece we need. I guess this is fine. I'm not excited by it, but it's fine. Our opponent's beginning with a Misty Rainforest. Could be a whole bunch of different decks here. Is it Nadu? Is it Omnitel? Is it some sort of Beanstalk deck? We just don't know. They did not shuffle. Once Upon a Time. Let's fire this off. Birds of Paradise, Keen-Eyed Curator, Wasteland. I think I'm going to take this Wasteland and just immediately fire it off. Keep our opponent guessing as to what we're playing so that they don't necessarily know what they're getting with their cantrips. And also, maybe we just get a complete non-game because we wastelanded our opponent on turn 1 and they were relying on that land. Alright, I'll play this Savannah and I'll play a Mother of Runes. I don't know what we're going to be getting with the Green Sun Zenith yet. We could work up towards like a Renegade Rallier, which gets back our Wasteland. Okay, Tropical Island and Tundra. So I'm thinking we're looking at maybe some kind of breakfast deck. Could be some sort of Bant control deck. I guess we have to prepare for it being a breakfast deck because that is the deck that is the scariest because it can just win out of nowhere. But hopefully this turn we'll get a bit more information. So we see something like a Beanstalk here. Okay, so we are on the control side of things over there. So this is going to be a Mother of Runes turn. So we're going to play the Wasteland afterwards because I don't know that we're going to waste them off of their removal colour. Alright, so we're getting a cantripping Force of Will on our 1-drop. Okay. Let's just keep these Wastelands coming. I think we're going to hit the Tundra. This is their removal colour. And we are ostensibly a creature deck. But this is probably a pretty horrible matchup for us because they're just going to have nothing but like removal and interaction. And we're kind of playing some creatures that are not necessarily that great, but are trying to suppress different things, right? So we're playing a bunch of hate bears more than playing just like big game-ending creatures. Alright, so we are looking at 5-colour beanstalks most likely. Okay. We have a Lush Portico that I guess we're going to reach for here. It'd be nice if we drew something that wasn't land. Every single spell, everything we've drawn this entire game has been land. Obviously, once upon a time, finding us a land. I'm still going to count that. Another beanstalk. So you're telling me you're going to have all the cards in the world. So the beanstalk decks generally, when they have beanstalk, are very hard to beat. But when they don't have beanstalks, feel really bad. So having 2 beanstalks is probably not great news for us. Right, let's get this Lush Portico. We don't want to show our opponent red mana yet. Birds of Paradise. We don't need more mana. So we can green some Zenith for 2. That can get us a Gaddock Teeg. That's going to be pretty good against our opponent's deck. Will it resolve is another question, but we'll worry about that later. Get Savannah here. This green sun Zenithing for Gaddock Teeg will shut off our own green sun Zenith in future. Sure. Force of Will that costs them 0 cards because it replaces itself and the card that you pitch. Like, I think we've already lost this game at this point, but I guess we'll continue on for a little bit. See if everyone's got any spice. They're going to run out of Force of Will at some point. They've got 2 more left in their deck. Yep, so full 5-coloured confirmed with 4th Yolingus as their top end. A 3rd Beanstalk. Okay, I don't think we need to play this one anymore. We're so far behind on the resource game here, it's just not worth doing. Alright, so this is where the Minsc Boo looks good. I also like the Choke here. The Pyroblasts are okay. Not amazing, but okay. What looks less impressive? This is not a Collector Ouphe matchup, so we can get rid of that one. Scryb Ranger is not great here, really. I don't believe they're going to be doing Murktide Regent stuff. So I think we get rid of the Scryb Ranger. And then we can probably trim a Plow here. And that gives us access to these 3. If we want Force of Vigor to answer Beanstalks and Leyline Bindings, we can. Like the Pyroblast, what is the Pyroblast actually answering? Like maybe it's a Ferry? They could have Murktide Regents. That's why we're keeping the Plows. We're keeping 3 Plows in because that can answer Uro and Murktide Regent if they have them. I kind of want some forces, but I don't really want to lose any threats to get them in, which makes things a little bit awkward because our deck is basically just threats and then a little bit of other stuff. Maybe we don't have space for these Force of Vigors. I do like being able to fight over Leyline Bindings though, because this can just represent more threats after they've been firing removal at us. I don't think we can get rid of any Once Upon a Times. Although if we're boarding in a bunch of stuff that Once Upon a Time doesn't hit, maybe we can trim one Once Upon a Time. And maybe we'll just trim one of these Plows and try and answer stuff. Like, having a couple of Plows on deck is fine. We don't have any real manipulation though, so we don't want to have too many so we end up getting jammed up with them. This hand is bad because you don't get to cast our spells, so we will mulligan. This hand is better. I will keep this hand. I think we put back the Force of Vigor for now. Or do we put back the Plow? I think I'll put back the Plow, actually. So we can either play the Mother of Runes or the Hierarch. I think I'm going to play the Mother of Runes, because then our opponent basically has to Plow this now, or we can blank all their removal for the rest of the game. So if they were on a line where they need to just have cantrips in their opening hand, and they're trying to cantrip into a removal spell, then that's not going to work out for them. Now, there's a possibility they have something like a Supreme Verdict in their deck, but if we get to untap with this Mother, things get a little bit better for us. This is the sort of matchup where Mother of Runes actually shines. Okay, let's go and get ourselves... I think it's a Taiga here. And we will deploy the Hierarch. There's an argument to playing the Mother, but if we're worried about sweepers, like Terminus and stuff, we should keep this in hand. So I'm going to just rely on this one Mother being enough. Basics. If our opponent like brainstorms here, they could be setting up a Terminus line. Not for next turn, but for the turn after. If this was a Tundra, they could Terminus this turn. Maybe they don't have Terminus. Maybe you fetch a Tundra here if you do have Terminus in your deck, just so you can set it up. So maybe that's a little bit of information. Maybe they're on something more like Supreme Verdict as an option. I suspect we're going to see a Beanstalk this turn. I'm not going to waste my Minsc Boo on this Force of Vigor. Especially since this has already got a card, so that'd be like a 3 for 1 for our opponent. If we draw a land, we can try the Minsk and Boo. Will it resolve? Unlikely. That's what we have. Mawloc, not great, but I will play it. It's just a 3 mana 3/3. Is this worth our opponent interacting with it? Our opponent wants to interact with it. Okay. I'm obviously not going to attack them under the runes here. That's a Force of Will that doesn't get pointed at the Minsk and Boo. Obviously, when they're drawing loads of bonus cards, maybe they just find another Force of Will anyway. An Uro. Sure. So this can maybe come into play next turn. We have a Karakas, so we can just keep popping this back into their hand. But their deck might have Wastelands, because why shouldn't the 5-colour deck also have Wastelands in? Over to us. Do we find a land or a threat? Oh, we found neither. That's cool. Is it worth holding this for a green card? I don't think it is. I think we just want to get this Hierarch in. And then we are attacking with a Noble Hierarch for 2 damage. Not amazing. We can hold up the Karakas. If they play the Uro, we can just flip out of play. Our opponent's seen 10 more cards than us. And we're only 4 turns in the game. Right, so in comes the Uro, and I will bounce it with these triggers on the stack in case there's anything weird going on. Unfortunately, the 3 life they gain is more than the 2 life we are hitting them for each turn. So it is pretty awkward for us. Mystic Sanctuary getting back a Brainstorm, sure. Uro is going to take a little bit of while before it comes back because they've got no cards in their graveyard. But they're just moving cards around. And they can probably just Force of Will anything we do. Alright, we've got a Misty Rainforest being cracked. They're going to plow something here. That would be weird given the Mother of Runes. If they plow something, it'll be when they have multiple spells they can unload. So they can just sort of overload the Mother of Runes. They shuffled off the Ponder. Okay. They're just trying to fill their graveyard and get Uro in again. But obviously we can just answer that. Alright. I would like a Savannah, please. And I'm going to cast this, leaving up a Noble Hierarch. Because the Noble Hierarch can attack for 2. If this doesn't work. Oh wow, this did work. That is enormous news. Alright, instead we get to attack for 5. Alright, sorry, for 6 even. And then next turn we attack for 6, fling for 6, and then draw 6 cards. And our opponent is very nearly dead. Alternatively, we can put counters on this, so it attacks for 9. Been a long time since I've stomped somebody down with a Minsk and Boo. Maybe today is that day. Okay, so are they going to get rid of our hamster, or are they going to get rid of our Minsk and Boo? It's probably going to be the Minsk and Boo. Now, we have a Force of Vigor we can point at this next turn on the hard cast. And they didn't have a Force of Will last turn. I think you would 100% Force of Will the Minsk and Boo if you had it. They're going to play the Uro from hand just to gain a little bit more life. Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, that obviously sucks for us, big time. Alright, we need to find a land so we can just get our Minsk and Boo back. So that was the sweeper, and we've held this in for various reasons. Renegade Rallier. We don't have Revolt, so this doesn't feel great. I guess we played just the Mother of Runes. That feels very whatever. We can Force of Vigor down these permanents next turn. Like in our opponent's turn, pitching the Renegade Rallier instead. That does give our opponent a window to maybe answer the Minsk and Boo before we get any value from it. A Brainstorm. I imagine our opponent's going to prioritise trying to remove this Mother of Runes this turn before they just get locked out of their removal again. Yep, there it is. Rakshas's Bargain. Yep, that's pretty darn good. Maybe we could smash this up in response, because now they might have a force. I'm just trying to work out, are we trying to eke out all the value from this Renegade Rallier, or are we just trying to smash our opponent down? I think we're all in on the Minsk and Boo here, aren't we? I think we should have done this in response to the bargain, because now they've just got to dig into a Force of Will here. They counterspell this. Yeah, that's the game. I don't know how we're supposed to win that matchup. Our opponent's deck is just nothing but removal. If they don't have a Beanstalk, then maybe we can get through. But if they have a Beanstalk, it just feels like a nightmare. Unless we can just like land a choke or something. Alright, let's go to round 2. Alright, this hand is fine. We've got Once Upon a Time to smooth out. Maybe find a 1-drop. And then we can just go maybe like Mother, Thalia, and then hold up Endurance. If our opponent's playing some sort of blue-red Delver deck here, then we might be alright. If they're playing Sneak and Show, might be a little bit trickier. The combo stuff can go over the top of what we're doing, but we can at least slow them down with a Thalia potentially. Right, let's draw a card for turn, and then we'll see what we will find off of the Once Upon a Time. Get the most information before making our choice with the Once Upon a Time. Alright, let's hope they are playing Delver, because we've got 2 Plows in hand. I would like another mana source, I think. If I get a fetch land, is that useful? I think I just put a Savannah in hand for next turn. And then we play the Windswept Heath ready for a Lush Portico. We're going to play on non-basics given our hand. Now we could have taken a Forest and this could be a Plains, but I think just getting the value off of the Lush Portico here is going to be good. Alright, we're on some sort of Grixis. Is this Grixis control? Because that's going to be a problem for us. As we've seen, control decks are very well suited to killing our medium creatures. At least the Grixis control decks tend not to have Wastelands in. So we should be more likely to get our mana underneath us without any worries there. Is this an Endurance game? Like, Endurance is just an okay threat. I think that's fine. Our opponent's probably going to have Graveyard Synergies. Now, they might still be like a tempo deck as well. That is a possibility. Let's get this Thalia in. They're holding up Fatal Push mana, but Fatal Push can't kill Thalia because they need 2 mana to cast it. Just a little daisy. Right, so we probably are on more like a Grixis tempo list. But the Endurance should be good here because our opponent's not going to be able to put a Murktide out. Are they just going to fire this off straight away? They are. We have another land, so it's not really that big a deal. It'd be nice to have a 2-drop here. No. Okay. Press out and pass. Now we have green in our deck for Endurance as well, so we are incentivized. Oh dear, oh dear. Yep. Double Wasteland. We are in the dirt. Now our deck is relatively low to the ground. We just happen to have like a bunch of our like 3-drops in hand right now. We don't have to worry about Murktide yet because that's a blue-blue play. Oh cool, and our actual top end has appeared. So we could have made it so that we get to play on 2 basics here. And the Wasteland would have been pointed at our Horizon Canopy instead. If we'd have got like the basic and then used our fetch to go and get a basic as well. So maybe that's on us. Once upon a time that we can't cast. Well, this is not going well, is it? I think the Endurance is going to be more useful than the Knight here. I could just bin off this Once Upon a Time, but that finds us a land. Oliphant. Oh, we're playing Reanimator. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I think I will get rid of this Knight of Autumn. We've got green cards to pitch. I would like to cast a Once Upon a Time to find another land if we can get there. I assume this is going to be Reanimator, otherwise why would you be playing this? So they're cycling another Oliphant. Honda, sure. We don't need to preemptively Endurance here because we have the answers to the Murktides. A Noble Hierarch. I will take it. I suspect it's going to get Fatal Pushed or Lightning Bolted. But, you know. Okay, we can be dazed, sure. Oh dear, oh dear. We found a land. There we are. We can Once Upon a Time in our opponent's turn because it's an instant. That way, if we need a particular kind of hate bear, we can look for it. Got Brainstorm. So they wanted one of the cards from their Brainstorm, I guess. Or they at least didn't mind drawing it. Otherwise they could have waited. Left a card on top. One of our opponent aggressively goes after this Once Upon a Time because they know it gives us mana most likely. Or not, that's also a reasonable possibility. I guess I'd take the Keen-Eyed Curator given what our opponent's been doing. Seems like it might be useful against our opponent's presumably graveyard-centric deck. Another Once Upon a Time. No thank you. Let's get this down. This is possibly just going to be a green card to pitch to an Endurance in an emergency. Okay. Are we going to see our little raccoon live for very long? I doubt it. It dies to Lightning Bolt, it dies to Fatal Push, dies to Shoulder's Edict. Or they can bounce it back to our hand and force us to discard. That's lovely, isn't it? I guess we discard a Once Upon a Time. Is it the Once Upon a Time or is it the Questing Beast? I don't want them to reanimate a Questing Beast, so I'm going to leave that in our hand. Obviously, we can endurance it back into our deck. But this is a relatively nice payoff if we can actually get some more mana. Because we've got a lot of stuff in hand. If we can leverage all the cards we have, it might be alright. Okay, they have a Tamiyo. A land? Not a land. So we can try and plow this. Or we can just play our Keen-Eyed Curator. I think I'm just going to play the Curator. So if we try and plow this, then they can brainstorm. If we just hold up the plow, they can just play around it and not brainstorm until we tap out of white. Alright, a Force of Will, pitching an Atraxa, so we correctly identify they're doing reanimate stuff. They are low on resources, though. They've got 2 cards in hand. Obviously, Tamiyo is a bunch of resources. They're going to have a creature here. Now, if we can draw a land, put a Endurance into play, we can just gobble up this Brazen Borrower or this Tamiyo. Just need that land. Another Wasteland. Will you stop it, opponent? Your 3-colour deck with your Wastelands in. I guess they do have like cyclers for lands as well, so it's not the end of the world for them. They probably only run 3 Wastelands. Most of the reanimated decks only run 3. So maybe they're going to 4 because of the Oliphant. I don't know. I'm not expecting another Wasteland. But if it happens, it happens. Alright. They're drawn from the clue. 1 more draw and they can flip the Tamiyo. Okay, let's pitch this Knight of the Reliquary to our Endurance. Say no to my opponent's graveyard. Okay, we found a land. I'm going to go and get... I guess it's kind of late to get a basic plains now. We should have got it earlier, but we'll get one now, I suppose. 2 cards on our opponent's hand. Do I plow the Tamiyo? I think I plow the Tamiyo. It really sucks for us if they have a brainstorm right now, but I think if they had a brainstorm, they would have used it last turn. Alright, Tamiyo's gone. We take 3, but then we can clean this up next turn. And we're almost in an okay spot here. If we can draw a land and get an Endurance into play, then I'm going to feel good. We found a land. Doesn't put an Endurance into play, though. I still would just play this. Phase out this little Borrower. It's going to come back in our opponent's turn. It's not going to do anything. Gives us more mana to play around soft permission. And if we find like a Wasteland next, then we can filter it into green and get our Endurance going. I think we are going to plow this Borrower, though. Our life total is a little sketchy, and we do have a spare plow for another follow-up creature. In case of Kaito, we'll... Oh, they didn't attack. Why didn't they attack? That's very peculiar to me. Alright, I will plow this now, just so we can be more efficient with our mana. Were they worried about... They shouldn't be worried about Endurance, because we don't have the mana to cast it. Now we do, though. Alright, so we have an Endurance ready to fire. That's a pretty big deal. Our opponent's probably going to get Surveil land if they've got one in their deck. Okay, they probably only have the 1 Surveil land because they didn't fetch for Surveil. This has been a very peculiar game. A Thoughtseize. So, there's a lot of things to think about here. If they have a reanimate, they could take our Questing Beast and reanimate it if we just fire in the Endurance. So I think we don't play anything in response. If they take the Questing Beast and we have the Endurance up, if they take the Endurance, then we can draw the Questing Beast next turn. We can play the Questing Beast next turn if we draw a land. So I think this works out best to not do anything. Because if they play a Questing Beast here, that's not great for us. Yes, they took our Questing Beast. So now, if they go to reanimate, we can stop it. If we go to their end step, we can then put our stuff into our deck again. Alright, here we go. Green. I would like to make green mana from this. And then we cast Endurance. Target ourselves. They've only got 1 card in hand, so I don't think this is like bait for them to do an Entomb line. They could be casting a Murktide here, but we have the clean answer to that. Alright, they're fatal pushing our guy. Sure. So, everything kind of washes out evenly. We get the first draw, and we already have a card in hand. Renegade Rallier. Okay, I guess we will take our opponent off of some land. I don't think it matters which one. I guess we hit the Undersea Sewers. They can't bounce it for the purposes of days and getting more value. I'm not going to fire this Wasteland off, though. We only fired it off so we got the Revolt. It was basically free to do. So now we're in top deck wars. But we have a threat. Okay, our opponent has a Wasteland. That's fine. Means that we can't cast an Endurance if we draw one now. bash. I will deploy a Thalia here, mainly because it beats for 2. I don't think we're going to restrict any of our opponent's plays, even if we use his Wasteland, because they've got a lot of land. More land than they want. It's just like a push. They would like to reanimate our Endurance. Yeah, that's annoying, but again, we can plow it. Are they going to shuffle their stuff back in? They're going to shuffle our land back in. They're going to do nothing. They're shuffling their things back in. That's it. That makes me think they don't have an outside regent in their deck. Alright, I think we are plowing this creature. Playing the birds. And then we can bash. So we can cast Questing Beast if we draw it now. Because we shuffled it back in earlier. Wasteland, we don't care about that. They can Wasteland our Wasteland. Sure, it's annoying, so we can't cast Questing Beast, but we can cast everything else in our deck. Queensland Zenith, actually a little bit difficult to cast under our own Thalia, given our situation here. But our opponent is on a 2-turn clock with no cards in hand. A knight is pretty reasonable here. We'll bash. Cast another threat. This also gives us the ability to go and get some various tools. Now, obviously, we don't have particularly great tools that we can get with this. But our opponent doesn't know that. Because our Talon Gates is already gone. We've got like a Karakas. But obviously, I'd rather just swing with our creature. 2 mana Brainstorm. That's a lot of looks at some removal, but they have to remove 2 creatures here. Alright. Somehow, we clawed our way back into that one. Nice. I guess just having a high density of threats isn't the worst thing in the world, is it? So, Leyline of the Void obviously has some interesting use here. Choke, not as good as you would normally expect because they've got these bad lands in their deck, but still pretty reasonable. I don't really want Minsk and Boo versus the Daze Wasteland deck. The Pyroblast doesn't seem super good. The Aim of Mind Sensor is okay. So these are things I'm thinking about. What do I want to keep? And what do I want to sling from my deck? This is not a Collector Ouphe matchup, so that goes. I don't believe this is a Gaddock Teeg matchup either, so that can go. Scryb Ranger, we didn't see Murktide, so we did see Attractor. This can keep an Attractor at bay for a few turns, which is not nothing. Obviously, you want the Graveyard Hate stuff. How good are the Mawlocs here? Like, what are we actually killing out of our opponent's deck? I didn't really see very much. They're all on the reanimate plan, so I don't think we need a Mawloc. Renegade Rallier is not exceptional to me. Like, it is some card advantage that can come in handy. The Knight of the Reliquary, when we don't have Portico Bog, doesn't feel ideal in this matchup, actually. What Knight of Autumn? Destroying an enchantment might be relevant if they have an Animate Dead. Maybe I'll strip these out and then just have them as tutor targets. And try this. Obviously, Thalia makes our choke harder to cast, but also, you know, is going to be a really powerful spell. And we're not always going to have all the things all the time. This hand is the sort of hand that gets Wasteland out of the game, isn't it? I guess we keep, though. We're on the draw, so we get another draw step before we have to make a decision with our Windswept Heath. If our opponent doesn't do anything, we can always Wasteland them. And just give ourselves more time to work out what we're doing. Alright, we're getting hit with the Thoughtseize. I took the Mother of Runes. Okay, so now we don't need to crack our Windswept Heath immediately anyway. We can just Wasteland. And maybe it's our turn to be the Wasteland person. Now our opponent has a bunch of land cyclists. Oh wow, they just missed. Okay. Because we have the Horizon Canopy, I'm going to get Savannah here. Deploy the Mother. Alright. We're kind of getting somewhere here. We have a Wasteland that they know about for the next land, so maybe they fetch basics because of it. I will happily play a Noble Hierarch here. I will play... I think I'll play the Wasteland out. Preserve our mana source here. We're not attacking with the Mother, it's just there to keep our stuff alive. So we can make a Rallier, which is going to be bigger. Sorry, not Rallier, a Knight of Autumn, which is going to be larger. Okay, you can Thoughtseize me. I took the Endurance. Okay. I know that you don't have another land. Get out of here. We're going to preserve the information and take 1 damage to cast this. I don't think it's going to come down to little bits of damage like this. I would like to make it larger, please. Alright, so we have a 5 power attacker protected by Mother of Runes. We can phase out a blocker, but we are starting to run a little empty. We need to turn the corner before our opponent can use all these cards. It's kind of like the exact inverse of the last game. Well, we got wastelanded out a bunch, but then we had action in the hand, and eventually we got to leverage it. Okay, and we're attacking with our Knight of Autumn here. If we've got an Entomb Reanimate line happening... Yeah, we do have an Entomb Reanimate line happening. So we're probably going to have to sacrifice our Horizon Canopy in search of a Endurance here. Okay, a Brainstorm isn't an Animate dead at least. Could still be Reanimate here. I think we beat them if they Reanimate here, right? We flash in the Scryb Ranger. Okay, so first things first, we should probably draw a card with this. Okay, it wasn't the one we wanted. So now we go and play a Scryb Ranger. So you're going to get a Savannah here. So they're going to go down to 1 here, but then they're going to go up to 4. We can lose the Wasteland. We can use the Talon Gates, phase out that guy, and attack them. Okay, so we have a Scryb Ranger that we can now sacrifice to the Archon of Cruelty. Sure, I will lose the Scryb Ranger. I will lose this Wasteland. They are dead on board. With Mother of Runes protection. They also know we have his Talon Gates. And we don't even need the Talon Gates, we can just use the Mother. A victory. Lovely. A nice 2-0 actually as well. Very weird games. Yeah. Alright, let's go to round 3. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. This is a bit of a weird opener, but we have some interaction for graveyard, artifacts, creatures, and land. So I guess we keep it, and then at some point we're going to have a decent amount of action going on. So we should probably play this Savannah. But if our opponent wastelands us, that obviously is horrific. I think I'm just going to play the wasteland out. It does let our opponent know that we have a wasteland. So maybe they'll fetch around it, but maybe the fact that they have to fetch around it will mess up their turn. An Arid Mesa. We're playing against the energy deck. That's the only deck that I can really think of that plays the Arid Mesas. There is a Guide of Souls. Okay, so this deck does run Wastelands. Mother of Runes. I think it's probably more important to kill that little guy here. I guess we don't need to hit this until our opponent shows us what the next creature is, because this is when a creature enters. So we can see what creature they cast and then hit this on the stack so I don't gain anything. Or if they play something that's scarier, we can answer the scarier thing. And I think the scarier thing is probably the Ocelot Pride. So we might take 1 damage for the privilege of doing this, but I think that's okay. And I thought long and hard about this Elegant Pile and whether or not they wanted to play it into our Wasteland. Right, we're going to take 1 damage for the privilege here. It's okay, it's only 1 damage. Nothing else following up. Okay, I think I will plow this out now. Go to our turn. A Lush Portico. Alright, I'm going to get the Portico down so we can start putting some real stuff going on. Alright, another answer is perfect. I will wasteland their Elegant Parlour, and I will play this Mother of Runes into what is probably going to be a Source of Plowshares. Nope, they were just passing through my turn. Okay. So we have access to Keen-Eyed Curator plus Wasteland next turn. We've got some basics over there. A Lightning Bolt, sure. They didn't play a threat with 1 white mana last turn, so I'm not expecting one this turn. Alright, let's get a Keen-Eyed Curator down. In terms of the size of bodies we're dealing with in this matchup, this guy is quite large. He's also quite dead. I will exile your lightning bolt. I don't think it matters here, but I think it's worth doing it anyway. Amped Raptor. What are they going to show us? 2 cards enter the revealed zone. They get a Guide of Souls. They're also playing a build with Gigantha to go and draw onto, but I don't think that's going to be a problem with our Wasteland kicking around. They're not going to get to 5 mana to cast that. Also have Lazotep Quarry. Sacrifice a creature, add mana of any colour. So this is just another way to sacrifice your cats so that you can flip an Ajani. Also, the making a guy isn't too shabby either. Like getting paying 3 mana to get a 4/4 Guide of Souls or Ocelot Pride. That's some pretty nice tech, actually. I like that. Okay, so we're probably just going to be using our Endurance as a removal spell here. We've got another Savannah to fetch. Ajani. Right, they're going to grow any of their guys. Attack with just the Amp Raptor, are they? They're going to make it larger. They are going to make it larger. I think this is worth a plow. So they spent their energy, but they get nothing for it. They are playing around in Endurance. Do I want to be mana efficient here? I think I do. Ocelot Pride. Yeah, that's a pretty big win there. They gain life because of our plow, so they get cat tokens. They get energy. I think our opponent is pulling ahead a little bit. Should have got a Taiga here, actually, shouldn't I? That could come back to bite us if we draw Mawloc right now. Do I like plows in my deck? Yes, put some plows in my deck, please. So we can have a Mother. We can have a Thalia. I like the first strike here quite a bit. I'm going to take the Thalia. And then we are taking up a defensive posture, I believe. This is a land that we can Wasteland. Goblin Bombardment. Well, this is probably the game right there. Because then they ping one guy here. Flip their Ajani. Kill our Endurance. Yeah, I think we can call it a day there. I guess the one thing we could draw actually is a Questing Beast. Okay. I don't think 2 turns getting us to Questing Beast is going to work. We're dead in before then. Maybe that's a slightly premature concession, but I don't know. Should feel great. I will have a removal spell, please. And nothing else here looks good. Do I want some Minsk and Booze? We know they're not being counterspelled, and we know that they are basically removal spells here. We do not require a Collector Ouphe. We do not require a Gaddock Teeg. We do not require a Scryb Ranger. So I guess this is a relatively clean sideboard. So there is an argument to boarding in Force of Vigor, because Force of Vigor can blow up the Goblin Bombardment. However, we have a Knight of Autumn we can tutor for that does the same thing. I think that's enough. We've got a removal spell. We've got Thalia. I don't really want 2 Thalias, but the first strike is pretty good against like lots of tiny little guys. Alright, I think this is Savannah, Green Sun, and just try and accelerate out here. Because the Green Sun's going to be harder to cast underneath our own Thalia anyway. And this way we can play Thalia next turn. And if we draw a land, we can play Thalia. Well, we can plow and then play Thalia. Or we can just play this Knight, and then we'll have a 3/3, which is pretty chunky. Doesn't die to like Goblin Bombardment pings very easily. Ocelot Pride, sure. I think I'm just going to plow this Ocelot Pride before it gets out of hand. Place Talon Gates. Do I have a 1-drop I want to tutor for? I could tutor for a Mana Dork. That seems thoroughly underwhelming, so I think we're just going to attack for 1. Wasteland, we'd probably lose the... Oh no, they've got a spell they want to play instead. Sand Scout, what is this? When this creature enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a desert card. Put that card on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle. Whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, create a 1/1 red, green, white sand token. So this is going to fetch them that Lazotep thingy that we saw before. Okay, this is some really nice tech, actually. So when they Wasteland, they get a 1/1 as well. Do you have any 2-drops you want to tutor for with the Zenith? Is Keen-Eyed Curator really doing very much here? I don't think so. If you play the Knight, it might dissuade them from Wastelanding us because it makes our creature even larger. So let's try this. Kind of want to play this deck with the Quarry in now. You can like go, if your Sand Scout dies, you can go get another Sand Scout and then your Sand Scout will be bigger and still returns the quarry to then get something back later. That is an interesting engine. Right, they're not wastelanding us. They are, however, playing a 2-mana potential Planeswalker. Alright, we are falling behind here. Our opponent's cards are more efficient than ours. Yep, so here is the quarry. This flips the guy. Now they can start making some cats. So they're also playing the Guide of Souls off the mana they got. Oh wow, this is really good. I'm enjoying this. We are going to get absolutely destroyed here. But this is cool to see. We can play a First Striker and hope they don't find a red spell. We can green something for 3. Is that anything? Not really. We can get like a Knight that's just a 3/3. How are we supposed to get through what our opponent's putting down? I think we need to green some Zenith for a questing beast. That's how we get through this. Which means we're playing a land and just playing out like this. Because if we play out the Thalia and we draw a land, we can't green sun Zenith. So I think we are just playing this out. Oh, I didn't need to tap on my lands there, whoops. I will make it larger so it can absorb more pressure. We could have left the Dryad Arbor untapped here, although we need to keep the Dryad Arbor around. But yeah, it was just objectively wrong to not keep this untapped. Too really think about green sun Zenith lines. So we need our opponent to not kill our lands. We also need our opponent to not kill us. Right, so we're getting wastelanded. So that's going to get them some energy here. Well, we are absolutely going into the dirt here. They should wasteland us again here. They only get the sand token once per turn. But the sand token is red. Yeah, you got this, opponent. Your deck is a very sweet version. This is the best build of energy I've seen so far. This tech is really cool. Alright, we got absolutely annihilated. Let's go to round 4. Whilst I may not play Pauper, I know a lot of you lovely people out there do. So I thought I'd let you know about a great charity Pauper tournament happening in upstate New York on the 21st of June. The tournament is in support of the Trevor Project and Trans Lifeline, so sign up to help a worthy cause and have fun doing it. It's a troubling time for our trans comrades out there, so show them that you've got their back. Click the link in the description of this video for more details. Okay, we can play a Birds of Paradise on 1, or a Noble Hierarch. I think the Birds is more attractive because it allows us to cast a Mawloc. Delver of Secrets. Alright, nailing your colours to the mast early doors. A Bauble, so they can do the Bauble trick where they target themselves with this in our turn, and then they can stack these triggers so that they get another look to see what they are flipping. Alright, Birds of Paradise. Join the party, please. Okay, so at some point this Endurance can gobble up this Delver. Possibly we can gobble it up with a Mawloc next turn. Or we can just expand our board out with some more 1-drops. We'll see what happens this turn. Obviously not blocking here, we'll just take 3. Another Delver of Secrets, you say? Well, that's certainly something. Our opponent's got a lot of cards in hand. This Wasteland is kind of irritating. I think I'm going to play a Mawloc around a Daze. And pick up the small Delver. Honestly, these days it's quite nice to be attacked by Delver of Secrets. It's just a much more civilized experience in getting dumpstered by 1-mana planeswalkers or getting killed on turn 1 by Ouphe spells or whatever. Okay, so we could have traded with the 3/2. I'm hoping that we can pick that with an Endurance. This is just like card advantage for us by killing their guy and being left with a body. We obviously play Plows in our deck as well, so maybe we can find one of those if we need to for this as well. Would like to find a mana source. Did not find a mana source. Let's play the Thalia around a Daze. And then I'll play the Mother of Runes. A Force of Will pitching a Daze. Okay. Now I'll try a Mother of Runes. Daze. Sure, this is just paving the way for our Endurance next turn. I bet our opponent's just got like a bunch of lightning bolts and stuff in their hand. Right, so now they have access to whatever their other colour is. Presumably red. If they're playing Delver, they're probably playing a bunch of aggressive things. A Lush Portico. Sure, let's do some surveilling. Yes, I would like a source of Plowshares, please. Alright, I would attack with this Mawloc. And then we're going to Endurance in our opponent's turn. If they crack this land, we will... Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they would have to crack this before they can put Murktide on the stack. I was hoping that they could crack this so we don't get caught by days and we could do it in response, but this is what we're doing. Endurance. This is kind of the line we've been playing to for a while. They've got through 2 dazes already. It's certainly possible they have a third. They haven't been playing much in the way of lands, so... Surprised they didn't play out a land before attacking, just so they had more stuff to operate at instant speed with. Okay, let's get rid of their graveyard to stop Murktides. If they had a Brazen Borrower, they could maybe borrow our Endurance here so they can connect for 3. But now we are very far ahead. They can't cast a Murktide here. We're going to see a Lightning Bolt, a Channeler, sure. And they're going to play something to trigger this. Unholy Heat targeting our Endurance, sure. I don't believe this is where we want to be firing off Wastelands either. I think this is a land that pays around days. Maybe there'll be situations where we can bottleneck our opponent's mana at certain times. But we're not looking to just Wasteland our opponent here. It's not good use of our resources. Okay, so first things first, I would like to get a Noble Hierarch in. That way we can attack for 3. Then I would like to get a Mother of Runes in. And then I'm going to hold up this Plow. I don't really want to Plow the Channeler. I'd want to Plow the Murktide because we race the Channeler. But we don't race the Murktide. Because we can take hits of 3 and then just put Birds of Paradise underneath it. Lightning Bolts, targeting presumably the Mawloc. No, they're going after the Mother of Runes. Okay, this might mean they have a second one. Our clock remains the same, but whether or not we can push through something is harder to work out now. We don't have the unblockability that Mother of Runes can provide for the final push. This is still a 1-1. Still attacking. Sure. Power to your opponent. So this is a situation where if our opponent doesn't play the island in their hand, we could try and bottleneck them for mana. We could bottleneck them out of removal. Are you playing a Murktide? It looks like they're playing a Murktide. So obviously if we plow here, it's not going to make the clock amazing for us because they're going to gain 5 life. But that doesn't matter when they've got no cards in hand. And this is going to struggle to flip for a little bit because they've got no cards. They need to find cantrips here. Okay, 1, 2, 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana. Finally getting Questing Beast out. Love a Questing Beast. I don't think it has reach, but that's not what we're playing it for. Right, so now we get to crack for 6. So we have a Death Touch thing that's going to be something that they don't really want to block with Murktide, but they might have to next turn if they... Well, not next turn, but when they eventually get a Murktide. So we got 6 damage coming in next turn, and then we have them dead the turn after. Brainstorm, okay. This could flip the Channeler. But again, we are winning this race. So we've already gone through 2 Lightning Bolt. No, only 1 Lightning Bolt actually. It was on Unholy Heat before. So it could have a little bit more damage to point at our face in the near future. I believe they are not attacking here. 1 card in our opponent's hand. A Green Sun Zenith. We can go and get an Endurance in a sec. Do we want to get the Endurance now? In case they turn this into a 3-3 that then it trades with the Mawloc. I think that is something to consider, isn't it? Blue and a red. Seeking of the Beast. Sure. So they're on probably this and no Corey Steel Color, which is good to know. A Delver of Secrets and a Mythic Rainforest. That does not help them. We'll go and get ourselves... Oh, we can get a Mawloc here. That doesn't really make any sense to me. Get a Keen-Eyed Curator. We don't have that much mana for it. I think it's just Endurance here. Just sweep out that graveyard. Alright, opponent's had enough of that. Let's go to the sideboard. I would like some Pyroblast, please. Choke is also pretty good here. Dismember is fine. We take 4 life. It probably ends up saving us 6 to 9. And we can actually pay the black on it sometimes. Okay, this is not a Collector Ouphe matchup, so get out of here. This is... It's probably not a Gaddock Teeg matchup. It only stops one thing, and that's Force, which they might be boarding out anyway, so I don't really want the Teeg for that. Mawlocs look great here. The Graveyard Hate stuff is good. Scryb Ranger is good. Plows are excellent. Mother's excellent. I think we can afford to take out one Wasteland. You don't really want to be wasting the Delver player that much. A 4-drop into the Day's Wasteland deck. I don't think we want the Questing Beast here. Renegade Rallier, it can, maybe return a Mawloc sometimes, best case scenario. Maybe returns us a land, that's okay. It's fine. Knight of the Reliquary, we're not actually tutoring much that's interesting here, so I don't think I even like the Knights that much. I'll have one as a tutor target. Could we instead have a Questing Beast as a tutor target? As just like our big haymaker. I think I like that more. Some people think about boarding ley lines for this matchup. The problem is, you know, they can just Delver you, and then you just sat there with a ley line doing nothing. Whereas we already have Graveyard Hate that we can rely on. Protection for removal. Kill their creature and a threat. 4 lands, too many, but one of our lands is half of a ponder. I will keep this. I think we lead off on basic plains. Okay, a Dragon's Rage Channeler. So we'll probably play basic plains, then Once Upon a Time. And then we can play the Mother. Mother of Runes is good. Thalia is pretty good. I'm going to take the Thalia, I think. I don't know if our Mother of Runes is going to resolve, or stick around. But if we can do Mother of Runes back Thalia, that really slows down our opponent's cantripping game. And then we can kind of get in with this Mawloc at some point. So we're probably just going and getting a Forest next turn with this Windswept Heath. We need to be careful with our red source because we only have like the 1, I think. Lightning Bolting our Mother of Runes. Perfectly understandable thing to want to do. They have 3 types in their graveyard. They are missing Artifact or Creature, which are the harder ones to get in usually. Sure, I don't mind being poked for 1 here. Our opponent missed on land drop. If they're missing on land drops, I'm going to say no to them having lands. And I think I'm going to plow as well. They could Force of Will to protect this, which also gives them Surveil towards another land. Normally I don't like really wastelanding into the Delver decks, but if they show us they missed a land. Okay, they're wasting a card on Surgical Extraction on Wasteland. That is a-okay. We've boarded some out. Well, we've boarded 1 out. It's not really part of our game plan. But the Thalia is going to really put the screws to them as well in a second. They left a card on top with a Surgical, which means it's probably a land. I imagine that's the only thing that you keep on top at this point. Okay, so there's the land they left on top. We're going to see another Channeler here. We are. Okay, we'll go and get our basic forest here and just deploy the Thalia. This means that we should be able to find a nice spot to Mawloc this Dragon's Rage Channeler away. Alright, we've got days here. They milled over Brazen Borrows. They do have a 3-3 now. We can just trade a Mawloc for a Dragon's Rage Channeler. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. Grafdigger's Cage. That's going to hose our Green Sun Zeniths. So we have choices here. We can take another hit and then try and get a Mawloc that actually kills this and lives. I quite like that. I think I'm going to cast this Once Upon a Time. Another Mawloc is pretty exciting, actually. I like the Endurance, though. I'll put the Endurance in my hand. And I will Lush Portico, I think, here. Mother of Runes. I don't know if we're about that right now. So next turn, we can Endurance around a daze. Another Grafdigger's Cage. That is really not what our opponent wants to see. They would rather have brainstormed this away. I think it's better to Endurance here than it is to Mawloc, because the Endurance also shuts down the Murktide Regent. Endurance is just so good in the Delver matchup. Right, so they've cracked a land, so that's another land going into their deck. Are they going to Unholy Heat our creature as well? Sure. So we are going to take another 1 damage from this Dragon's Rage Channeler. But then next turn we just gobble it up with a Mawloc. We're obviously not going to fetch our red source until the right moment. A Ponder, that's a good way to start filling the graveyard again and working towards a Murktide. At some point we're probably going to draw a Green Sun Zenith, and I'll feel sad about it. I could go and get a Dryad Arbor with this Windswept Heath. Do I really want a land that our opponent can kill with removal spells? Maybe. Ponder into Ponder? Sure. Milling over a land. Yep, they're in the stage where they need business spells. They also just need to put stuff in the graveyard and fuel this Channeler as much as they can. A Wasteland. Oh, a Lush Portico. Sure. That's fine. No cards in our opponent's hand. They didn't attack for 1. I will go and get the Dryad Arbor, I think. Oh, what am I doing? They've got Grafdigger's Cage in play. Oh my god, that was so bad. That was very foolish. At least we're not drawing Dryad Arbor anymore, I guess. Oh dear, oh dear. So we get the Taiga here. I think we just want to play the biggest guy we can. It's been a while since I've like fetched into an opposition agent style mistake there. And there we go. Okay, I think we attack the Mawloc. And then we deploy, I think it's the Thalia and the birds. Seeking of the Beast. Brainstorms. Those brainstorms are going to feel pretty bad into our little friend here. Also, the Tropical Island being in their graveyard might be their only green source. So they might not even be able to cast this as a creature. A Brainstorm. I suppose there is an upside to us having taken the Dryad Arbor out of our deck. Because it's a thing that you just can't play the Dryad with the Grafdigger's Cage in place. We kind of got rid of one of our bad draws. But statistically, that was not a good thing. We're just trying to find upsides for the horrible misplay. Alright. Delver of Secrets. You got it. In with the attacks. This is 5. I don't think they can afford to chump block here. I would like to draw a card, please. A Talon Gates. That could come in handy next turn. I'll play a Mother of Runes. If they can muster up a Murktide, we can put the Talon Gates in our opponent's turn on the next turn cycle, and then we can just cruise through. Obviously, the Mother of Runes allows us to push damage anyway. Wasteland. They're going to take out a Taiga. They are. But that's all they have. They can attack for 1 here. I think I would probably consider it if I were them. But yeah, they're just in a horrible spot. I will play out this Wooded Foothills, and I will attack with 5 powers worth of creatures. They're going to flip this Delver. Lightning Bolt. That's a good one. But we do have a Mother of Runes. We have 2 lethal threats. Lightning Bolt. Targeting their face. They're showing themselves the door. I respect that. Alright, 4 rounds down. What are we at now? 2 and 2. So we've been smashing games 2-0. And then we've been having some horrible losses of 0-2. So quite polarised. Let's see if we can put the positive on the board in the final round. Alright, our hand for this final round looks alright. You know, we've got a nice Mother of Runes. We can do some Green Sun Zenith and stuff. I'd rather not have the Dryad Arbor in hand, but it is what it is. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. Are we just going to get bopped? Now, we can defend ourselves from Ouphe spells. There's non-Ouphe spells. It could still be a reanimated deck, though. Ponder, sure. So we have a bit of a question. Are we trying to play this Endurance around a Daze if our opponent goes for it next turn? Or do we just want to get our game plan done in case they're not doing that? They did mulligan. I'm just gonna wasteland them. They can't go off next turn if we wasteland them here. They mulligan to 5. Maybe we strand them with no permanents. Alright, we did not strand them with no permanents. Unfortunate for us. Okay, I'm going to go and get a white source here. I think it's going to be a Plains. Although, no, it probably needs to be a Savannah, right? So we can do the green-green if we want to hard cast this Endurance later on. Right, let's get the Mother in. If our opponent has Entomb, Reanimate, and Daze, then they win here. It's kind of the nature of the blue-black Reanimated deck still being allowed to exist, is that you have situations where maybe we're not supposed to do anything that turn. We're just supposed to hold up a land so that we can pitch cast and play around a deck. Alright, that's not happening, which is fine. But it's just one of the things I have to think about in the format right now. And it kind of makes any any deck basically playing an Underground Sea, you have to think about that for. And it's just a bit too much of a weight on the format, in my opinion. A Thoughtseize, sure. We'll probably lose the Zenith. But if they take the Endurance, it does suggest that they are going for like a graveyard-based line soon. To the Zenith, sure. Alright, we have a Lush Portico available. I will pass a turn. A Tamiyo, sure. Let's get our Lush Portico out. Source of Plowshares seems fine by me. We have a Karakas. If you crack that fetch land, I will Karakas your Tamiyo. Get out of here. Because they can't brainstorm a response whilst their fetch land is on the stack. A second Surveil land. This definitely feels like Reanimator. They tend to play an additional Surveil land over other decks, so they have access to the put your Surveil land on and then brainstorm your big monster back into your hand, which is a pretty good line. Okay, I guess I will play this Plains. The problem is we're not really doing anything right now, because we have to kind of live in fear of this reanimation plan. So we're kind of just twiddling our thumbs, and they know we have this endurance. So we're kind of just at an impasse here, while our opponent gets to sculpt to a point where they can do their big thing that goes over the top of whatever we do. Awkward. Entomb. Okay. They know we have an endurance in our hand. So they must have a force here. They do have a force. Cool. Oh, I despise this deck. Okay. Let's... If the last card in their hand is a Daze, we don't want to do this, do we? I think we just let the Dryad Arbor go. And then we go to our turn, and then we can plow this around a Daze. Then we can deploy our Mother of Runes. Then we can deploy Windswept Heath. And let's see how our opponent can rebuild from there. So Murktide Regent is looking very live right now. They've got a very stacked graveyard, so they can make a giant one. Another Entomb. Okay, cool. I hate that for us. Are they going to reanimate it as well? Sure, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Right, I'm going to bounce this. Okay. What are they going to want from this pile of cards? I don't think they want to Entomb Reanimate anymore, so I don't think they're doing that. They're obviously going to take Animate Dead because it's the only enchantment, so they may as well get the card. They probably take the Daze. No, they're probably the Force of Will and Ponder, so they just got a nice blue card protection here. They could just take the Reanimate and have access to our Endurance. They've got enough cards, actually, they can just discard the Atraxa and bring it back and just have another look for cards, but their life total is getting low. So what do they take? Polluted Delta, Force of Will, Reanimate, and Animate Dead. Okay. We're not going to crack this because we have Revolt stuff in our deck. Is Wastelanding remotely useful right now? No. Still play it out. Like, we could start chipping away at our opponent's life total here. They've got two mystery cards. I don't think we can. Oh, I hate that for us. So, what are they doing here? Reanimating our guy, probably. Whilst we're not doing anything, they don't have to do anything either. Oh, come on, deck. I kind of want to attack with this Mother of Runes, so I just don't think it's a great strategy. We just need to draw a threat, please. There's also just hard cast Force of Will over there, but we can... Oh, look at this. A Cradle. We don't want a Cradle. I'll play it out. If our opponent wants to wasteland it, that's fine by me. We don't have any way of recycling cards back into our deck like Brainstorm or anything. So our opponent has high cast Force of Will mana, so we can wasteland them off of that. I think that is a worthwhile use of our wasteland here. But they're up to 7 cards here. Horizon Canopy. Get me a card, please. Another Mother of Runes. Okay, we can attack for 1 starting soon. That is a thing we're allowed to do. Again, we're not cracking our Windswept Heath because we have the creature with Revolt, and we want to be able to get the most out of it. It's much better than just thinning something for the very marginal percentage that provides. Alright, they discard an Atraxa. That's fun for us. Do I think this Green Sun Zenith is going to resolve? No. Are we going to cast it anyway? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go and get your friend of mine, Questing Beast. Force of Will. Okay. I will. Attack with 1 Mother of Runes. We have a plan. I'm going to play this Taiga out. It's our only red source. I don't think I can afford to play that out. We need to sandbag that for if we draw a Mawloc. Right, the Wooded Foothills. We must be running out of stuff to get with that. Get a basic forest, I suppose. We only have 1 card that cares about Revolt, so I will thin my deck of 1 card this time. Because we still have the fetch land that we can use. They're going to Wasteland my Karakas. Ugh. Well, that sucks. Yikes. So now they can animate dead back this Atraxa. Yep. Oh dear, oh dear. Nice selection of cards here. They can take Force of Will blue card. They can also deploy a Murktide right now. We can phase it out, but what are we doing? It shows Murktide Regent, Force of Will, and Polluted Delta. Here comes the Murktide. It's big. Alright, I'm going to crack this. Go and get Savannah's fine. Okay, so Renegade Rallier, if we can resolve it through their Force of Will, which seems basically impossible, is a line here. If we can get Karakas back, we can bounce this. But yeah, I think we are pretty much done here. Okay, okay. So the line that we've been playing to, we have available to us. Now, are we going to get through our opponent's 6-card hand that we know has a Force of Will in? I would posit that that is not going to happen. Oh wow, it did happen. Okay, I'll get this Karakas back. Then I will bounce this Atraxa to our opponent's hand. I don't think we're phasing out the Murktide Regent though. I think we phase it out next turn and maybe swing with everything. So in our opponent's turn, so we don't take 8 damage this time. There's a Wasteland. It's going to take out a Karakas again. But they can't reanimate their little friend. We could take the 8 damage here. I don't think we should take 8 damage. Let's put the Talon Gates in. Say no to the Murktide. We have 5 on the crackback here. They've got to have something, right? So I'm going to attack for 3 with double Mother of Protection, and then we'll attack for 3 next turn with double Mother Protection. Like, we could swing out there, but if they have any removal spell, we lose. Or, we don't necessarily lose, but things get very, very bad for us. If they use this Force of Will on anything, then they only have 1 life left. How have we got there? We drew the 1 outer at like 1 in 36 cards to get to play this game for a few more turns. A Murktide Regent. That doesn't matter because we can give our Renegade Rallier Pro Blue. Oh wait, no, it does matter because they have a 13/13 guy. Oh, I'm so sick and tired of this reanimated deck. Okay. Oh. Okay. To the sideboard. Ley lines. Choke. Aven Mind Sensor stops Entombs. That's not nothing. I'll think about that. And Pyroblast can answer Murktide Regent. So these are things I'm interested in, but how much of it do we get to play? We don't need Gaddock Teeg. We don't need the Collector Ouphe. The Mawlocs don't seem amazing here, so they can go as well. Also makes our mana base a little bit easier to handle. So I don't really like the Questing Beast that much. I don't want our opponent reanimating a Questing Beast. So this gives us these 5 cards. If you want any Pyroblast, we have to trim from this selection of cards. I think the Mother of Runes is good. I think the Plows are good. We obviously need our Dorks so we can play our game. Graveyard Hate stuff, obviously very good. Knight of the Reliquary, again, it's just... I'm not really enjoying the Knight of the Reliquary that much in this list. I think I'd have a Pyroblast here. Do I want to have multiple ones to tutor for? Is that how I feel? We could just have 1 to tutor for. Like, it's just a guy in our deck, right? We don't have Pajuka Bog, which would make me want this. I guess we can tutor for Karakas. We'll keep 2, we just have the Miser's Pyroblast. Like, if they're boarding into a bunch of black creatures, then the Pyroblast might not do that much anyway. It's just nice having another answer to Murktide Regent. We have a double Wasteland. We have Thalia. This is fine. I guess we could have boarded out a Wasteland for a Pyroblast. More land is good, but Noble Hierarch gives us something to do straight away. I think that is better. So we probably have to get non-basics if we want to ever use this Pyroblast. Our opponent's deck has fewer Wastelands than Tempo decks do, like the full-on Tempo decks. They tend to have 2 to 3 Wastelands. I don't think they're going to burn a Force of Will on a Noble Hierarch. So next turn we can play Thalia with Pyroblast backup here. Or we can play Thalia with a Wasteland for their Surveil Land. I think Pyroblast backup is better. This plays for days and Force of Will. And our opponent is unlikely to get much going if we have this Thalia in play. They're not going to be able to entomb and reanimate, which is the thing we're scared of our opponent doing. And now they don't know what they're fetching. They don't know that they have to play around these Wastelands that are in our hand. So maybe we can get some joy that way. We're just going to see like an Orcish Bowmaster here. We're pretty good. So we could have played the Karakas here to protect from removal spells. But there's only so many things we get to play around. So this is Bowmasters. It is Bowmasters. Okay, goodbye Thalia. Do we need to look for action here? I think we do, because our hand doesn't do anything. And they get to play on perfect mana base as well. No, we are not looking for Birds of Paradise. Yes, that would enable our red source, but we're looking for something that actually impacts the board. Alright, Mother of Runes. Let's get you in. I'm going to play a Wasteland rather than this Karakas because I want to save the Karakas because it's a unique land in our deck and has an important impact on things like our opponent's Atraxas and stuff. Am I... No, I think we're just going to hold back, bluff the Endurance so our opponent maybe doesn't go for anything here. So they might not attack us and they might not try and reanimate because there's a potential Endurance line. They can always just probe with this Orc army. Yeah, okay, they're attacking with both. Okay, I guess we'll just take it. So I thought they might just probe with the Orc army, because if they lose an Orc army to Endurance, it doesn't matter. Engine Explosives, X equals 1. Huh. Sure. Are we in the Pop Horizon Canopy take damage from Orcish Bowmaster stage of the game? Probably not. I think we are just going to crimp our opponent's ability to play stuff. Play out our Wasteland and move on with life. Our opponent gets to play all the good tempo tools whilst also being an A+B combo deck that just kills us with only spending 10 cards of their deck to do that. It's just too much. I think if you're a tempo deck that is trying to reanimate stuff, you should only be allowed to have like the cyclers. So, bring back Troll of Khazad-dûm, have that, Street Wraith, Strike Riverwinder, that sort of stuff. You shouldn't be able to get like just the best creatures in the game into play as like a little side package in your tempo deck. Maybe this is the month that Entomb finally gets banned again. I can but hope. They would like our Mother of Runes, sure. So we're never getting rid of this Orcish Bowmasters unless we draw a removal spell right now. Once upon a time, Thalia, first striking creature. But they can just give their guy pro-white. And it doesn't matter. Ugh. Right, I'll take this Renegade Rallier. It can kind of do similar things anyway. I'll play this Horizon Canopy. So we can go and get back our Thalia. So it's just strictly better than taking a Thalia. Unless we wanted to play the Thalia right now. So next turn we probably Wasteland targeting itself. And then Renegade Rallier getting back Thalia. That's a very ugly play. But it's what we have. I guess we're just turning the Wasteland into a Thalia, which actually isn't so bad, right? I would tap a Wasteland to turn into a Thalia. So we're going to take 2 damage here. We're just going to leave up our Mother of Runes that they have so rudely taken from us. Green Sun Zenith. Don't think we're doing that just yet. We'll leave the Karakas up so then we can bounce our Thalia when it comes back. Does our Renegade Rallier resolve? No, they just get a nice little 2 for 2 here with a Force of Will. Sure. Okay, so what is our plan for next turn? We've got a Green Sun Zenith. We can get something relatively good out of it. We could go and get the little Keen-Eyed Curator guy. That guy is pretty solid here. Oh, Barrogoyf. Okay. Maybe not so solid anymore. So we draw a land and we get a Questing Druid. But then the Mother of Runes beats whatever we do with it. Okay, so we have a Mother of Runes. So this can check the Barrogoyf in coming turns. I guess we're just going to get the Keen-Eyed Curator here. Now the problem we have is the Mother of Runes that they have stolen from us can just give this protection from one of our colours. But hopefully we can then block with whichever one it doesn't have protection from. Alright, they can just Bowmasters us. That's also great, isn't it? Yeah, we're done. We're done. We're absolutely done. We are unfortunately still living with the consequences of them banning the wrong card from Blue-Black Reanimator. Troll was not the problem. Alright, so we finished with a 2-3. Not a spectacular record, but we did manage to beat the Grixis Reanimator deck, which I think is definitely much worse than the Blue-Black. Let's talk about this deck. So, quite often when we're playing this deck today, we found ourselves not able to advance our game plan. We just were kind of like drawing cards and hoping for something. Because we've got like a lot of pieces that are like trying to stifle our opponent's ability to execute their game plans, things like the Gaddock Teeg and the Collector Ouphe and stuff. Sometimes we just don't have good proactive things to do, which means that we can then fall behind and give our opponent way more draw steps. So the game we lost against Blue-Black Reanimator, where we Karakas their Attractor twice, we could have won that game if we drew threats earlier, right? But we didn't, because our deck was relatively, not necessarily threat-light, but we don't have any way to guarantee those threats. It's not like we're running something like Sylvan Library. So Sylvan Library used to be a core component of Maverick decks. Now I understand that the format is so fast that maybe leveraging cards from Sylvan Library isn't a thing we get to do that much anymore. But I think it would have helped us in a matchup like that where we could just actually find something to close the game when we manage to put ourselves in a position where we're not losing. But I am obviously not a Maverick player. I'm not like green-white fair guys kind of player. That's not how I like to play Magic the Gathering. I prefer to be a little bit more proactive-y and try and lean into some of the more unfair elements. So if I was playing a green-white deck, I would probably play Depths, which has a nice proactive, powerful game plan that you're trying to execute. And then you also have this toolbox of stuff to interfere with your opponent, whereas this one feels like we're just playing some guys that are going to jam our opponent up a bit, and then they're going to turn sideways a bit, and then eventually we'll win. Which sometimes works, but sometimes is just a little bit too fair. Maverick obviously not having a great time in the meta, but like I said at the start, it has managed to get 2 top 8s since Taiga Dragonstorm came out. I think those 2 top 8s have been relatively recently as well. So maybe, you know, having the right tools for the right matchups works, but if we get into like a fairer matchup, like, you know, we saw the control matchup just absolutely steamrolled us. Whereas if we have the right silver bullets at the right time, we can beat some of the combo decks potentially. But some of those combo decks will go underneath us. And I'm not sure that 2 endurance is enough to deal with that. I think if I was going to play a Maverick list, I would want 4 endurance in my deck and some Sylvan Libraries. I think that would be like my starting point. So it would be like Green Sun Zenith, Collector Ouphe, 4 endurances, 2 libraries, and then build out from there. So you probably have to trim some of the other bits and pieces. Maybe the Mawloc. Maybe we don't need red mana at all, and we can just play a slightly nicer mana base, so you could get rid of Mawloc and have access. So these could be 2 more endurances, and that would help us get through turn 1 against the decks that are really going hard on that sort of front. And the endurance is just as good as a Mawloc, possibly better against matchups like Delver anyway. So maybe that's something to do. We already have Plow, so we do have an answer for some of these Barrogoyfs, which is nice. But yeah, I think this deck is a little bit too fair. I think if you play it to a high level, you can certainly get more out of it. I don't have very many reps with Maverick at all. But if you'd like to see someone playing some Maverick, by all means, check out Dukes on Twitch. Like I said, I'll put his link to his YouTube in the description. You can see somebody much better at playing Maverick and see how they get on. Sideboard-wise, 4 Pyroblast feels like quite a lot when we have like 1 reliable red source and it's not even necessarily that reliable. Minsc and Boo slaps. Playing red mana for Minsc and Boo is a thing. I can understand why you want to do that. I prefer Minsc and Boo in like the green-white Depths decks or the Naya Depths decks, because then you can just make your 20/20 and throw it without your opponent having the ability to plow. Actually, no, that's not true. They do get to plow, don't they? Because this is a delayed. Yeah, the sacrifice on this is part of the resolution, so you don't get to sacrifice the guy. But still, sometimes you can sacrifice it through and then stay on bridge and do some cool stuff. And that deck is just much more my sort of thing anyway than playing little fair creatures like this. So we've seen builds of Maverick in the past running things like Stoneforge Mystic as well. I did feel that we missed having a proactive game plan that Stoneforge Mystic could provide, as well as things like the card advantage that you get off of pre-war formalware to bring back something. So that's another way you could go. But I just think it's a rough time for fair-looking decks at the moment in the old Legacy. I think someone was saying the other day that the portion of the meta that is combo is 56%, I think they said, which is a lot. I think that was off of MTG decks, maybe? I can't remember which site that was from. But yeah, so combo is everywhere right now. And being a fair deck, sure, we have some nice combo pieces, but a lot of the combo decks are prepared to beat these things. Like Carnforge can beat Collector Ouphe. You know, it's got Kozilek's Command, which can kill this. It can also just win with Glaring Fleshraker. Gaddock Teeg is better against those decks, for sure. But then, again, they can still work their way around it with Glaring Fleshraker and playing all their smaller stuff. And it's very hard for this deck to push through a bunch of 0-1 tokens anyway. And, you know, people are killing people on turn 1 and 2 quite often, and maybe we just don't even get to cast our thing. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this foray into something a little bit fairer. Please remember to like and subscribe. Quite a lot of you lovely people out there that watch my videos aren't subscribed, so why not hit that subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything, means you don't miss my content, and it helps me out. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.